Hello and welcome back to the Kilted Kickoff. Well, second leg of 1822 Cup is done and dusted. We're both there loud and proud. Speaking of which, Dan is back and with us. Dan, how you getting on, bud?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I managed to pull in a couple of favors, swap a couple of shifts, got the
Mm,
day off. I have to work probably about 6 Saturdays a year. This was meant to be one of them, but I managed to do a half day today to get down in time for the game. It's weird. I've got mixed feelings about it. Supporting both
mm,
clubs. It's like glad I got them,
hmm
but at the same time, I feel like it was a waste of 100 quid.
Oh, I'm so confused on this game. Like, I'll take the points. Points are
Mm.
the main thing. And I did say that to you last week that it would be a Herculean task for us to even get the 1872 Cup. But I feel like Edinburgh would win it, take the league points, and then Glasgow would retain the 1832 Cup, and that's exactly what happened. But by God, this game will not live long in the memory bank. This
Nah,
this wasn't it, and to do it in a record-breaking crowd, ah,
the crowd that it drew in didn't warrant the game that it got.
oh no, 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 not at all.
Uh,
But hey,
and to be
you know,
fair, that 40,000 crowd was 40,063.
mhm,
If Glasgow hadn't played in Hampden, that would have been higher. Scottish Rugby already knows that there was a percentage of people who went to the Glasgow leg in Hampden, so didn't come to the
Murrayfield.
one in Murrayfield, so they
Mhm,
weren't going to do both games. So if it was 40,000, which was a great crowd, a record-breaking crowd, if Glasgow had played at Scotstoun, we probably would have been looking at about 45,000 today. But
mhm,
regardless, that's not to take a dump on anyone at all. It was a great achievement getting as
mhm.
many people as we did.
But yeah, the game was a dud. 3-0 at halftime. 3-0 at halftime to
Yeah.
Edinburgh, and we'll get into the second half in a minute. But I was really frustrated at halftime. Like I spoke to you at halftime
hmm
fetching donuts for my oldest and tea for my dad. But
hmm
I was just thinking, like, we had Edinburgh had Glasgow Warriors under the pump for 12 minutes. Do you know how hard it is to do it against any top team in the URC, let alone the defending champions who
hmm
absolutely obliterated you the week prior? And you've got them under the pump, you've got them rattled, they're giving away penalties. And how many points did we walk away with it? None.
None.
Zero.
It-
Not a
I
single
do
point.
tend to think to myself, I know it's not in Glasgow Warriors' DNA, but if Glasgow Warriors had decided in this tight game where you had so many injuries, weren't going so well, maybe if they kicked for the post just once, it
hmm
might have been enough to win them the game. I know it's not in their DNA and it's not something that they do, but
hmm
this is a weird game where you can pull back an example as they had a lot of kickable penalties, decided to kick none of them.
See, this is a bit that's even more weird. Edinburgh, who's historically take the points on offer. I'm like,
hmm
right, kick for the corner, because Dave Cherry on his century appearance, he was on song. He was ready for it.
hmm
He had a really good game. I thought I was really impressed with Dave Cherry, and you could almost see that bit of like animalistic in him. Just like, I'm ready to go. Who's with me
He had
here?
the bit between his teeth today. He did. There's a couple
Mhm.
of runs when he peeled off the back of the maul, and he seemed to really have the bit between his teeth.
That's what I'm saying. Use it. He's ready for it. And surely, for certain penalties, surely the hooker has to come in and be like, actually, if you kick that in the corner, I guarantee we're going to get it. Do you know what I mean? Like, almost back yourself a bit more?
hmm There was a couple of weird tactics going on both sides today. Did you
Mm,
spot the tap and go that George Horn did? Glasgow
yes.
had a tap and go at one stage, and George Horn took it, and that really threw me off. I was like, "All right, what's going on here?"
It was just a weird game. I mean, Shuey got a grubber kick through that actually was quite on the money for the most part.
I saw that
Yeah,
meme going about Schumann off Schumann.
the 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 first half was just really, really boring and frustrating. Like
Yeah,
Luke Crosby was really unfortunate not to get that try because it literally bounced as he went to put his hand over the line. Stuff
yeah.
like that happens. I'm not
He had
pointing that
quite
out.
an unlucky game. He knocked it on a couple of times.
Still
Some
got man
bad
of the
balls
match though.
into him, and yeah.
He still, yeah, he did have some absolute dog like in him though. I mean, I seen him. I think it was after receiving a kickoff or
Hmm.
just a loose ball. Anyway, it was open play. He got the ball, and you could see him like just licking his lips and like, "Oh, Luke's ready for this one." That was great.
It's I don't know. He did, yeah. Luke did look great. It's, I don't know. I can't, and I hate to be this whole negative cap. I came away from that game just feeling so deflated. It was there's very few games,
Mhm.
that you walk away with where you feel like both teams walked away feeling like crap. And I'm not sure if
That's
that's
fair.
just me, but I feel like that was one of them. I mean, like, all right, we're going to win many games this season playing like that.
Oh,
It's
God,
just
I hope not. Please don't.
Glasgow came to town, so Glasgow away from home, having 12 or 13 injuries, not getting out of second gear, and Edinburgh get it by 3 points.
To be fair, Edinburgh's actually both teams defensively were very impressive for the most part.
Hmm.
I mean, overall, obviously there was a couple of key like line breaks and all that, but like for
Hmm.
the most part, like, I think everyone actually had their opposite number, like quite par for par. Like
Yeah, I
I
mean,
thought Kyle Stein against Darcy Graham was quite good. Neither of them really got the better of each other there.
no, both of
Thought
them were well marked.
um I might maybe say Duhan had the upper hand on Cancelleri because
Hmm.
he absolutely. But also, I just want to point this out for those that say that Duhan van der Merwe can't tackle. Bollock to that. Watch that game because he absolutely smashed Kyle Rowe after knowing finally he wasn't getting the high ball. He did the right thing. He slowed down, waited for Kyle's feet to hit the ground, and then just ran through him. Great hit. And to do it on a derby day, it gets the fans all riled up. Then about a minute later, he caught Cancelleri and threw him into touch. I was like, yes,
Hmm.
Duhan, here we go. This is what we've been after. And
That
then,
little rollabout on the floor.
yeah, and then he stopped Matt Fagerson like dead in his tracks. Like Matt Fagerson got no ground when he ran at Duhan. Duhan just grabbed him and went, nope. I was like, well, this is new. This is very new.
If he had a different skill set, do you think Duhan could play back row? No,
Um,
he's got the build for it, but
he is built for it. It'd be, to be fair, that him coming off the back of a scrum. Oh my god.
can we do that as a project, please? We'll put Stain and Darcy on the wings, and Duhan will be our new number 8.
Doing will be our number 8 for the time being, and then you're getting everyone
'Cause
in. And it,
I mean, imagine because you know how usually every restart, every kickoff, they punt the ball up there, the number 8 takes it and has a little run. And imagine if that's Dewey coming under it,
that'll be great.
gets to go
Yeah,
for a number on a little run after every kickoff.
be a good tactic, and it would get them involved more because again, for the most part, I think Duhan played scrum half more times than he did play wing today.
Mhm.
He was just trying to get involved. He just wanted to hold the ball.
Look, we're having a bit of fun. We know it never happened, but I like the idea of someone going in, right, Dewey. This is how you jackal. That's right. This is how you defend a ruck. Don't worry about high balls anymore. You'll hardly be involved in them. Right, this is
Yeah,
how you
catch it.
tackle,
And he was going,
jackling. These are your two main things. You already know how to run like a big bastard. Now tackle and jackal.
tackle, jackal. Yeah, why not? It would be interesting. It would definitely silence the critics for sure if he just turned that around. But no, I thought defensively, Duhan had a really good game.
Mhm.
I thought Misesi Tuipulotu had a really good game because
Yeah.
he did look a bit lost in the wilderness last week. I'm not saying that's down to him, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, just nothing seemed to. But that was more on Edinburgh as well.
Mhm. I was
And
disappointed to see Mo taken off after 60 minutes, though. I know
I was,
Lang came on
I
from. I
wasn't.
texted you at that point. I was like,
Yeah.
mm,
Um, I didn't mind. Well, I wasn't pleased that he came off, but I thought James Lang when he came on, did a pretty solid shift. He was right ready for it, and
Hmm.
that's all you could really ask for when you come off the bench. Ben Healy on a kick, which effectively won us the game. That must have really hurt Sean Everett for that one. But like, we praised when we started this podcast, we were praising Ross Thompson,
Hmm.
and I don't like being negative. I hate it, and I don't like
Oh,
bashing players. But he didn't really do much today. He hasn't done much the last two fixtures against Glasgow, to be honest. And I don't know if it's just because he used to
different
play for
level,
Glasgow.
or
I
do you
don't know
think it
because,
might
like,
just be that Glasgow are different level opposition? Do you think
maybe,
that
maybe.
maybe it's just that Healy wasn't playing great and Thompson was playing slightly better, but he's found his level, or do you think he's just
Hmm.
had a couple off games?
I'd like to think it's just the off games because, like, I was really impressed with Ali Bryce today for the most part. To be honest with you,
Hmm.
wasn't great. I'm not saying he was fantastic. I'm just thought like, yeah, like, did the job. He was fine. It was solid enough.
If he has found his level, right, I don't think it's a bad thing. Do you think how many teams could you argue they're better than Glasgow and URC? Well, Leinster maybe. Um, the Sharks at home. Other than that, I mean, and they're both arguable, right? If Ross Thompson can, happily do a job against almost every other team, bar Leinster and Sharks away,
Mhm. That's fine.
it's
Yeah, that's
not too
good.
bad, yeah.
Good picking. I'm I'm really trying to struggle with like who stood out for me on the Glasgow team, and I don't mean that, and I'm saying this for clout or negativity. Nothing. This game on either end, nothing happened. Like we can't
Mm.
hammer that home enough.
There was two, they're both in the
Mm,
backs. Well, no, there's a couple. Like Kyle Stain, he was well marked, right? So he always had three men on him at any given time. But I thought he did all right. I
mm-hmm.
think Tui Pilotu made a couple of breaks. He came close with that little chip and chase over the
Yep.
try line, and he was. It felt like he was going a bit Finn Russell-esque when we were behind. It felt like Tui Pilotu, Sione, that is Sione Tui Pilotu, was trying to force things a little bit to try and make something happen.
Mm.
Um, Hugh Jones was quiet. I think George Horn was okay when he came on. He had a
I
couple of
think
close moments, but
the bit that caught George Horn off guard is when Edinburgh got that. And it was an amazing turnover. It definitely was. It was great. And
mm,
George Horn's being a little like yapper in
oh, he
the
took a wee
referee's ear now.
dive.
Back you go. I'm not having it. I was like,
Yeah, just a bit yappy. But there was. This is probably going to be a shorter pod than most, right? Because
yeah,
for those of you that didn't watch or maybe are listening to this and you've only seen the highlights, genuinely, there was
nothing to
so
talk
little to
about.
talk about. I went out to Murray at half time and I said, if the game ends like this, what they're going to do? What they're going to show that Ross Thompson kick and go last week in the 1872 and have to fill it most for last week's show. What one basically the first half there's a load of basically outside of both 22s, a lot of middle play, a lot of kick tennis. No one making any big breaks. Ross
No,
Thompson got a penalty that he kicked, and then there was a scrum where Darcy, Ray, and Jamie Batty had a little bit of a scuffle. That was
I'm
it.
glad you mentioned that because now I caught it on my video. So if you follow me on TikTok, you might have seen it. They're all pushing and shoving, and Hamish Watson's just at the side having a little warm. Hamish Watson's literally just on the pitch, so he's still trying to like get the legs a bit loose. So the
Yeah,
way I've got it is Jamie Batty, Darcy Ray pushing and shoving one another. Some of the forwards are trying to break them up, and Hamish Watson's just off to the side of it, just having a little skip to himself, big smile on his face, loving life, and I'm like, that's the moment of the
but
game.
that's mesh.
Actually, no.
Well,
Actually, you know what? Right, for as little as for as little that happened in this game,
mhm,
I was not expecting how the game was effectively won. So if you didn't know, if you didn't watch the game, it was 3-0 to Edinburgh. It
half
was
time,
about
yeah.
65, 66 minutes in, and it's still 3-0 to Edinburgh. Glasgow's starting to get a bit more penalties their side, and
Hmm.
it's starting to come. It's starting to come. Get to the 70th minute, or just before
So
the
yeah,
70th.
it
Yeah.
was the 68th minute.
Yep.
Glasgow had a driving maul. Paddy Harrison
Hmm.
illegally brings it down because it was
Yep.
going over anyway. So
Yep.
referee awards, and rightly so, penalty try.
Penalty,
Paddy
right? Yellow
Harrison
card.
goes off for a yellow card, and then straight from kickoff, Schumann goes over, scores straight back. So you
Yeah.
had a probably a 90-second period in the game. Not even that, because Glasgow's restart was so quick. You
Uh,
had a 90-second period in the game where we thought, oh, well, great, last 10 minutes has come to life here. And that was it.
that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the entire
Even
game.
even the way the game ended, like Edinburgh had the scrum, and I was like, right, they're going to win the scrum and kick it out. We barely did that pretty. Like the ball kind of juggled about the floor, and then Baird and Healy just kind of
Yeah,
almost chucked
it's
it off the field. But I don't even know. It was a weird game. Glasgow retained the 1872 Cup on aggregate, but they had deja vu because they got beat at Murrayfield last year, so it doesn't feel like a win. So when they get the trophy, they go, great, there you go.
yeah.
It's not
So
like a,
let
yes.
let's move away from the game a little bit because let's be honest, there's nothing really more
That's
to
fine.
talk about the
No, I'm
game
good with that.
apart from injuries galore for Edinburgh, or not injuries, but people going down in HIA right, left, and centre. Um,
Mm.
quite a dull game. Edinburgh win it.
Mm-hmm.
Just Glasgow retain the 1872 Cup again. Both times, clubs come away a bit frustrated. What do you think the pressure is going to be like? Because two different forms of pressure on Franco Smith and Sean Everett's going to be like. Because one of them, let's be honest, is fighting for his job, and one of them is trying to, you know, have one eye on a title charge.
I mean, there's obviously definitely more pressure on Everett for just staying in a job. We know Franco Smith's going nowhere.
Unless it's to Scotland.
Well, yeah, the only way he's going out is through promotion. Um,
Hmm.
but I don't even know. I think Franco will just be like, look, lads, that wasn't our best. We're better than that. Let's really focus. We've got a week off. Let's come back next week fresh. Let's really hammer it in for Raston at Scotstoun.
Hmm.
Whereas Sean Everett, I feel like might be clinging into a bit more.
I think that job will keep Everett. I said this to you after the game. I think that'll keep Everett for the rest of the season. That win. He's beaten the champions. I know it's another home win, but every time he gets one or two bad results, he'll squeak the odd victory at home.
We've
And
actually just we've not lost a home game since the Leinster opener this season. We've
yeah,
kind of we've actually done well at home
yeah.
for them,
So
like win loss
great,
record
great
anyway.
home record, but crap away record. So I think between beating the defending champions, it's a big scalp, and Everett needed that badly. So you would have got that. You'll get the odd win at home, and they're the Challenge Cup. Edinburgh are one of the best teams, probably the best team in the Challenge Cup. So they'll get a good few wins in the Challenge
The,
Cup.
the only interesting
Um,
bit with the Challenge Cup is when you get to the knockouts because fifth place in the Champions Cup pools drops down. So right now you've got Bath who are flying high in the Prem, haven't done
mm,
great in the Champions Cup, but could drop down to the Challenge.
I
And I
don't
feel like
see
they
that happening though.
do you not?
No, I mean the dropouts. I mean the highest quality team I could see probably dropping at the Challenge Cup would be someone like Ulster.
No, bugger that. I'm an extra Chiefs fan. They need to drop. Yeah, I'd rather have. I'm just saying. Sorry.
What are the pools at the moment? I'll have a quick look at them to see who's if it was to drop down. Let's just say it finished the way that it stands right now. Okay,
Yeah.
so right now the three teams, sorry, that would drop down. Not Challenge Cup. That's Challenge Cup. Champions Cup.
Champions Cup.
Sorry, mate.
Four teams in fifth place dropped down
Yeah. Sorry,
to tell. Aye,
I
you're
wasn't
fine.
Ch- Champions Cup pool. Right. So the teams that would drop down at the moment Points, both on 0. So tied for bottom in Pool 1 are Exeter Chiefs or Ulster, as I was saying.
Extra Chiefs, back your team. I'm just saying.
In Pool 2, Bath, which would be a big scalp. I don't see it happening because they got Brighton and Claremont both in
But they
there.
lost
One
to
of them
they've
are
lost to
dropped
Benetton.
down. And Bristol are bottom. You have the Bulls and Stan Francais tied bottom in Pool 3.
I mean, you really don't want to go to Versfeld again.
But yeah. And then in Pool 4, Racing 92. That'd be a tough one.
So
If
I mean,
Racing dropped them. Because I know that their ambition is to win the Champions Cup, but if Racing drop down, they will
sorry,
make that their ambition. We need a European Cup. So I
sorry,
think if Racing drop down, they'll go full noise for the Challenge Cup.
Racing have been playing absolute piss this season for the most
Oh,
part. They've had
who's it that they've
glimpses,
got
but
at 10 again? Racing?
Stuart Lancaster's son. I know you were trying to make an Owen Farrell joke there, but it's Stuart Lancaster's son. That's how bad it's got.
Whew.
Anyway, that's not relevant. What is relevant though? Premiership rugby, and especially the Scotland Stars that stood out to that because there's been high scoring games this weekend in the Prem.
Mhm.
Bristol Bears getting nilled at home to Sale Sharks. Gus War came off the bench, had a really good game. I think he's still pushing. I don't think he's going to start for Scotland, but I think he should be. Like, if you're picking the four scrum halves like Gregor Townsend did in the autumn, I think it's George Horn, Ben White, Jamie Dobie, and Gus War. I don't think Ali Price should be in that four.
No, well, yeah, I'd agree with the Ali Price probably not up there, but Six Nations and Alt Nations difference between peacetime rugby and wartime rugby. I don't think he goes for four scrum halves in the autumn. I think he goes for three.
Goes for
If there
three.
is a fourth one, it's someone of youth that he brings around just for the training experience who's never going to play. It's just like you're
So,
part of the squad to train.
so without
It's-
being rude, because I absolutely love him and I text him this multiple times, but Ben Afshar
yeah,
would
yeah.
fill that void. That's fair.
Yeah,
But
it's like Ben, next Six Nations, next autumn, we see you getting a couple of games. You're not going to feature in the Six Nations, but we'd like you to come across, see what it's like to train in this environment, see if
hmm,
you're up to level. Let's get a look at you. Um, unless there's some serious injury crisis, you're not going to play.
hmm.
Maybe something like that.
And also while you're in camp, can you show us that deadly box kick 50-22 that you can pull off? I still don't know how he does that. He's
The
done that
70-meter box
every.
kick. Boom.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it. I'm gonna have to ask him. I have no intention of learning it, but how do you do it?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so
We are
Gus
going to
Ward,
call it the trebuchet.
Gus Ward did well coming off the bench against the Forsyth Sharks. Sorry,
Mhm.
Bath absolutely dismantling Saracens, 68 points to 10.
Humped.
Finn
Uh,
Russell, best 10 on the planet, pulling the strings. Cammy Redpath getting on the score sheet. There we
mhm.
go. Happy days. But this actually leads me to my next game because Northampton Saints blitzed not Newcastle Falcons, 61 points to nil, and Rory Hutchinson got on the score sheet. Now,
Mhm.
I know that we've got Sione Tupuoto and Hugh Jones as our first choice, and you've probably got Staff and probably Rory Hutchinson as our
Yeah.
second choice.
Mhm.
What about a centre pairing of Redpath and Hutchinson? I know they're not as big, but that's more like a skill based
Well,
backline.
Hutchinson is. Hutchinson's a
No, but
big centre.
it's not bulky. Tall. I mean, like bulky, like Sione or Staff.
Hmm.
Like, I mean,
Um.
like if you're going like for a more skillful backline, or you're or like just want to try something new. I'm not saying for the Six Nations. I mean, just in general for this idea. What about Redpath and Hutchison? Because they can both play 12 and 13, either or, so you can switch that about as you please, and it would work.
My unpopular rugby opinion is Hugh Jones is one bad injury away from losing his spot permanently in the Scotland squad.
Oh, why? Why have you said? Why are you doing this?
No, look, he's great, right? He's fantastic, and he fully deserves his place up there. But he's what? How old is he? 31, 32 now? So you're starting to lose a little bit of pace at your age. And look,
Is
if he's
he?
out for a couple of weeks of that, you'll be fine. But, well, yeah, once you get to 32, 33, you're not as fast as you were at 28. I mean, the mind's there, the mind's better, but the body isn't. Backs, they peak around 28 and then they start to dip slowly. I mean, 10s can go on a bit longer because that's more mental, but maybe 9s can as well. But,
Hmm.
your centres and your back three, they peak at around 28 because physically your body just can't do what it used to do. And if he gets something that, were to set him back for a year or so, or for 9 months, somebody will come in and take that place. And once he's back to full fitness, that's him, at 32, 33, trying to win his spot back off of a lad that's 26. So it's his as long as he can keep it and keep fit. And I think a fully fit Hugh Jones goes all the way to the Lions tour. But I don't see him progressing after that. I don't see him being the starting 13 in the next World Cup for Scotland. Do you? Do you see what? A 34-year-old
Well, how old is he
Hugh
now?
Jones? What,
Like, actually,
31, 32?
I don't know. I don't know how old Hugh Jones is, so I'll let you quickly check it. But
Um,
probably not.
he's
No.
30, 31.
So what? 30, 34, 35 years old at the World Cup?
Yeah.
Probably not. It's kind of
hmm
like it's kind of like Ireland's issue with Bundyaki. Like, yeah, he's great, but who's after him?
hmm So
Which
at
isn't
this
a
stage,
bad.
it's not.
I get what you're saying.
Mhm.
I don't know. It was just an idea that came to my head today when I seen the team sheets and I seen the scores, and I was like, Hutchison and Redpath in the midfield could work quite well. That'd be quite fun. Who
Mhm.
else really still in? I think they were my main ones.
But
Um,
I would start to maybe bleed some of the centres in. Like, look, Tui Pilotu's only 27, so he's got another year, maybe 2 years before he peaks. And
I
so I
imagine you.
think
Wait, you on about Sione or Masese?
Sione's 27, so
Oh, Masese.
he's
Yeah, Masese's only 22. Yeah, shit.
yeah. So
Oh
this
God.
is the stage where Hugh Jones has maybe another season in him at top level before you start to notice a dip. And look, I don't want to think about that, but you remember the days when Chris Harris and that was, it was Chris Harris and Sam Johnson, and you're like, oh yeah, that was a great pair, and you never saw Chris Harris losing the spot, but he did. And you went night and day between Chris Harris and Hugh Jones. You went from a really defensive player to a really attacking player. But they
Mm,
are now getting, and same with the Mish. And it's nothing wrong with these players, that's just it's professional sport. They are
mhm.
starting to reach their peak now, so you have to prepare to who's coming at the back of him. Is it Cammy? Is it Hutchinson? Um, do you
Is it
start
Matt
bringing
Curry?
in Mosesi? Is it Curry? Is it Stafford? You do. I mean, Sione's still got a good couple of years left in him. He's probably got another World Cup cycle in him, but Hugh
Mm.
Jones doesn't.
Hmm. It's an interesting one. Although you
Different
did mention,
for the next Six Nations, though. Like, I mean, for the next Six Nations, you want as good as you can, but then for not the Six Nations coming, but the Six Nations afterwards, I'd be
mhm.
looking at someone different.
Fair enough. Um, yeah, no,
But
good point.
sorry, I
I'm
cut
not
you
sure.
off, and you were
No,
saying
no,
there. What were
you're
you going to
fine.
say?
I completely forgot when we are talking about the game how nice it
hmm
was to see Hamish Watson return and how good Hamish
Yeah.
Watson actually was.
Yes. It
Almost
was
like
fantastic to see him back.
almost like he's been a Six Nations player of the tournament and a former British and Irish Lion. Try use your
That
head.
that never gets used at a club level game, which is bizarre. Now, you said to me on the phone once that you thought he was off when Sean Everett came out and said, "Yeah, Hamish Watson's fully fit, but he's not in the squad." And it was just like, okay, like
Well,
why
that
even
told me
mention
that he
that?
was. That tells me that he was out the door.
Yeah,
Like
I,
again, it's such a weird thing. I'm fed up of bashing him now. Like, I've already made it clear I don't like Sean Everett, and this stays, by the way. This I got asked this like straight after the game. I told you about it.
Mhm.
Like somebody was like, "And what do you have to say about Sean Everett now?" Like, still the same stuff. Like, I've already pointed out the issues that, like, again, Duhan's not getting used. We had the champions under the pump for 12 minutes and couldn't score a single point. Like, that's still big issues under that coaching
Mhm.
regime. And he really does look like he doesn't care. I never really noticed it until a couple of weeks ago when you text me it. And now every time I'm watching the game, whether I'm in the stadium or I'm on TV, the camera pans up to Sean Everett and there's no emotion. Jamie Ritchie, HIA, failed.
Mhm.
Do you
Yeah.
see Sean Everett even being like, right, bring on Hamish, or writing down stuff, or even looking like, oh God, Jamie Ritchie's hurt? No, he's just emotionless. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, that's so weird. And I don't know. And like the build up to the game, he was coming out with like, oh well, there's going to be it's going to be a big crowd, so we expect to put a show on for them. Spoiler: neither side put a show on. But what a dumb thing to say! Like, yes, obviously you're going to try and put a show on for them. Why else would people come to the rugby? Certainly
To
isn't for
be
the
entertained.
purists. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Or
all you
what was
want
it
to
we
win
watched
every
in
week,
the
not just the big games. It's not like okay, you got Black Lion next week, so why bother?
I feel like he's going to come out with stuff like that. Oh, the Black Lions are an all right team. They're basically the Georgian team. Well, yeah,
Nah,
that's
he'd
just
be out the door if he did that. I doubt
oh, I don't know. Like even the video I showed you on the way through to the game, he was like, "Oh, the players like they disappointed their family last week." I was like, "You can't even take blame for that."
it. The players have come under a lot of stick, and yeah, that one. I think that he's
Players
just
had,
deflected the blame off himself entirely.
yeah, the players have been gone through ridicule in the media, and their families are disappointed, and we've got international players that put their heart on their sleeve for the Thistle. I'm like, we're not wearing the Thistle, though. We're wearing the Castle. You're not even making sense with what you're saying.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know. It's one of these things where I'm glad Edinburgh won the game. Genuinely
Yeah,
glad Edinburgh won the game.
100%. Yeah.
And I'd be happy for Sean Everett to stay in charge if he could turn it around. But I
But just speak the
have
truth as
no
well.
faith
Just be
in him
like,
turning. Yeah.
if we get beat, obviously I hate losing. But if you were to come out and be like, look, we had tactics in place today, they didn't work. Monday we're going to fix that, or we're going to look at something different. Fine,
Hmm.
that's fine. Don't come
He
out
came
with
out.
blaming it on the weather and or the families being disappointed in your players and all that. That's just a load of shit.
Hmm. He came. What was it? He came out at the start of the season. What was it? He said to BBC Scotland that if players underperform, we're just not going to allow them to
Why?
wear the jersey anymore. But nothing nothing from Edinburgh from this season to last seems to suggest that they've improved. They're roughly around the same place in the table as they were last season. Um, you could argue that the teams below them, especially the Welsh sides, have gotten weaker.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Munster aren't as strong as they were last season.
Nope.
I'd argue that Connacht and Ulster probably aren't as strong as they were last season either. Um,
Probably not.
You've
It's
got a
just
Stormer side that's in injury crisis. You've got a Bulls side that are really, really hit and miss.
mhm.
So I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't. I'm depressing myself talking about it. So, um, for your Six Nations squad going into, well, that's your final call up for Edinburgh players anyway. For excuse me, for your Six Nations squad. I mean, the Glasgow players have got 1 or 2 Champions Cup games to play, so if there's anyone on the fringes, they've still got a top level game to prove
Yeah, yeah.
themselves. For Edinburgh, they've got a Challenge Cup game. No disrespect to the Challenge Cup, it's not a competition in the same caliber. So any fringe players that were on Gregor Townsend's radar. Sorry, any fringe players that were on his radar have to have put their hand up in the last 2 games. Is there any Edinburgh player that you think that wasn't on Scotland's radar at the start of the season that is now?
That wasn't on the radar.
Yeah, at the start of the season, the start of the season, any player that you thought, oh, just a club level player, but now you're thinking, do you know what? I think he could make the Scotland squad.
I think injury does help on this one, but I can see Dave Cherry getting a slot. Not as a main benefactor or starter or anything like that. Like a third or fourth choice option, I can see Dave Cherry getting a call up. I can maybe see.
He's already had one though.
Oh, yeah, a fresh face call up,
Well,
like
a
a
recall,
debut.
yeah. Well, a debut. I mean, I'll take Dave Cherry. I'll take Dave Cherry, but
Dave Cherry for a little throwback.
okay.
I don't know because he wasn't on the radar and he kind of was and he also wasn't at the same time. I'm going to say Misesi to Potter and I'm going to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
The hype was there. Like, it was rumored about a year ago that they wanted Misesi in and they were going to play Tui Poatu in the centres. We're going to have Sione and Misesi.
Mm-hmm.
They got him into the Scotland squad for the autumn.
Mm-hmm.
Never played. He's not been capped yet.
No.
I think they really, really liked the idea of it.
Mm-hmm.
But Edinburgh were doing really poorly before the autumn
Mm-hmm.
and was like got a closer look at him and went, You're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
You've got it, but you're not there just yet. So we're gonna hold off. You're gonna play the A's so your time's not completely wasted. Then you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
go back to your club and you're gonna try again. But since that break in the autumn, Vicente has got a lot better. He's got a lot more comfortable. He's adapted well. He's becoming a regular starter for Edinburgh.
He had a good
And
game
again, I'm
today.
not. He had a good game. He put in he did get a clash on Sione. They did seem to battle each other like once each. I think they got the better of each
Mm-hmm.
other once each, and that was it. Um, he has grown as a player. I can see him being in the squad, maybe coming off the bench against Wales just to get him capped. I hate saying it like that just to get him capped. They're obviously deserving
Yeah.
of being in that place, but it's very tricky as well because right now Stafford McDowell was suspended. Stafford McDowell
Mm-hmm.
will not play till after the Champions Cup's essentially finished.
Doesn't he have one more game? Can't he play in the second? I think he can play.
Oh,
Is it
maybe.
Sale again? I think
No,
that's the
it's not fair
second
again.
game that he's missed.
You only play this. You only play the team once in the Champions Cup.
Okay, so he's missed both 1872 games. So I think he's got what, it was a 3 game suspension, wasn't it? So I think he's got one more
Oh yeah, oh, right,
play.
okay. So
So
he's
he'll miss
essentially got.
Racing and he'll play Harlequins. Well,
Okay,
he
so that's
can play
basically his
Harlequins.
last. That's basically his last dance. I imagine. I'm not saying he's not going to get called up. That's not what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But if there was only one spot left, I could actually see it going to Misesi because Misesi's actually been playing, or Stafford
Uh-huh.
hasn't. Because do you know what I mean?
I can see it.
That's
Not the way I would
the,
call it, like, but
I think Jack Mann is on the cusp of a call up. He has been doing really well. He's really
uh-huh.
took the opportunity with Jack Dempsey being on the sidelines, full grasp. Honestly, speak because I mentioned Dave Cherry. If you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking younger and more long term, Gregor Hiddleston wouldn't surprise me either.
Okay, well, that's not a bad shout.
Plus, he is freakishly versatile. If he starts a game, he plays hooker. But
Mm-hmm.
majority of the time, if he's on the bench, he's covering the back row. That's nuts.
That's a bit like a Fraser Brown regen.
Fraser Brown,
Who did
Stuart McInally sort of thing, yeah.
Although Fraser Brown could also play scrum half, which was wild.
That's weird.
That was
That's really
that was
weird.
always the one that I wanted to see. Well, I'm a big fan of the big bastard back row. I wanted to see that with a Fraser Brown at 9. just make my day. Imagine the
To be fair,
driving mob.
speaking on weird players, like players that can play weird positions, you don't think? Apparently, Sam Skinner used to be a 10. Like at age grade, it was a 10. I was like, pardon? When was
Oh,
this? I got
imagine
when he
seeing
was
a
still at Chiefs.
Scotland team shape with a Tuni Tombola, and you look at the squad. Hold on, Sam Skinner at 10.
I don't know if he could do it now, but yeah, when he was still at Chiefs, they mentioned it a lot. But like when he used to break through lines and all that, they're like, well, I mean, he did used to play 10. I'm like, when? Who did? What do you mean?
When? Who? Where? What?
I'm not believing that 6'7" Sam Skinner played at 10. I can't believe that. I'm not having it.
My mind's not comprehending this. Oh, you
Right,
play
but
the world of what would have been. Oh, I'm just
what
trying
would
to
have been?
think of it now. You know, my back row of Matt Fagerson, Maggie, and Dempsey. You know, Fraser Brown's playing 9, Sam Skinner's playing 10. Duhan and Kyle
do,
staying on the wings.
do hands playing at 8 like we dreamed up earlier. There you go. Just switch everything around and see what works.
I'm just thinking, how physically large can I get this squad? I
Yeah,
care
that was a
nothing
weird.
else.
So yeah, I think Jack Mann's really on the cusp. I think if he's back in time, I can see Jari Akontabeju getting a call up. I
I
don't know if
mean,
it's too early though. That's the thing.
from Glasgow, there's a few, right?
There's a few.
From
There's
Edinburgh.
a lot.
I'm just looking through them now. I mean, I think Bowen Venter's a year or so away yet. I don't see that happening. I think Paddy Harrison might have just ruled himself out today, as much as I think he's got a bright
I
future.
think Paddy Harrison's had a weird season. That's not just down to him. That it's just been a really
Mhm,
strange season. Like he was doing better than Ashman. It looked like it
mhm,
was going to be his jersey, and especially
mhm,
with Dave Cherry wasn't even in the picture a month ago. And now Dave Cherry's back. He's a
mhm.
Centurion. He started today, put in a great shift. Had to come
Like,
back on because Paddy got binned. Ashman's
yeah,
injured. Do you know what I mean? Like a weird
it is.
in the
On a
space of a
personal
month.
level, Paddy Harrison's one of my favourite players. Like, well, we've both had a chat with a couple of the Edinburgh players, after the game, even in the little 5 minute convo. But Paddy Harrison comes across as quite a likable guy. But
Yeah,
I'm not sure if he's not put himself in the best light for the upcoming Six Nations. Schumann gets in. Paddy Harrison probably not. Darcy Ray, eh, that's maybe just more of shortage than anything else.
it would be
And
Darcy Ray or Javan Sebastian. But again, it's
yeah, and then I'm just
because
trying to think what.
because realistically, and the way I've
Mhm,
always done predicted squads, you do 3 loose heads and you do 3 tight heads. So if you're doing the tight heads, in my eyes, no Darcy Ray or Sebastian, because you'd have Miller Mills and you'd have Will Hurd.
Yeah.
Obviously Xander's top choice. I didn't exclude
Mhm,
Xander there. I was doing it on the depth thing. So, but again, second row, we were mentioning Constabeju. Cameron Henderson's playing out of his skin now that he's back to playing at Leicester.
mhm.
He did
But you've
really
got
well today.
there's a lot of competition there. You've got Gregor Brown. He's a great player. I think Max Williamson's a fantastic player. Um,
I feel like Max Williamson's
Beju,
running against the clock though to try and get back.
yeah, Wingery, like he was so good, and he came up off in such a good light after the South Africa game, but he's not. He's now running out of time a little
Hmm.
bit. But he's no doubt in my mind he will be set as one of our future locks. He's too good
Hmm.
not to be. He's big, he's physical. Johnny Gray is another one that could come back. So I mean,
The Johnny Gray comeback would be great because Bordeaux are flying high. He's now
mhm,
like accustomed to it. He's starting regularly.
Mhm.
I do hope that when he said no in the autumn, it was because, like, look, I'm just back to playing
I'm
rugby.
just back. I want to focus on getting fit and getting back before I throw myself into international. I'm hoping, Six Nations, again, it's not peacetime rugby. That's wartime rugby. They say, no, this is proper stuff. I want to be in the Six Nations.
Hope so. Hope so. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about Six Nations. I mean, I don't know if you're going to do the same. I am gonna have to put my team out like next week, like the end of next week, because I believe it's after the challenge and Champions Cup's finished. So it's like in like 3 weeks' time, maybe even less than that.
Hmm.
The Six Nations squads are out, so I'm gonna have to. I've penciled it in, but there is some little bits I'm gonna have to change. I'm gonna have to look into the injuries and.
Yeah,
So
it depends. Like, there's a lot of players that, like, will they get it back in time? Williamson, be one of them. Does Adam Hastings make it back in time? There's a couple where you're thinking, I'd put you in, but you're gonna make it.
yeah, we spoke about it on the phone the other day. Sorry, that like I had players written in brackets because I was like, well, I'd have you if you're fit, but then who do you come in
Hmm.
over and now you've got even more injuries because like Jamie Ritchie's went. Actually, Jamie Ritchie and Duhan both went off with a HIA. Now it came up.
Hmm.
We said this in the car. Jamie Ritchie has failed his HIA, so Hamish Watson will remain on the field. Right,
Hmm.
cool. We haven't got a clue what Duhan's done.
Now,
Coming off, coming off for a HIA, Duhan van der Merwe coming on Charlie Shield, which is already a
yeah.
nuts sentence on its own. But
Hmm.
to then give us zero update on Duhan, did he
So
pass it and
yeah,
we just kicked him off and we just said nothing?
we won't find it for a while because the thing is, th- which I find this a bizarre statement. Rather, the stadium announcer missed a beat, or Sean Everett decided when he came off that the sub was going to be permanent and he was going to bench him anyway. Because that's the only reason you wouldn't announce it, is if, look, he was coming off it, and Everett just said, look, regardless if he passes his HIA or not, he isn't going back
Hmm.
on. So it could have been Everett trying to protect his player. In that case, we won't know until it's announced. I would like to assume if he did fail it, we'd probably hear about it tomorrow. But
To be
that's
fair,
not to say for certain.
and I'm trying not to make this sound horrible. I'm going to make it make sense. If he's failed his HIA, I'm
Mhm.
glad it's now
I
because
know what you mean.
right, there's no games on next week because the Welsh teams are playing on New Year's Day, which kind of buggers up the whole scheduling conflict thing. So there's essentially like a week, 10 days off before Challenge Champions Cup returns.
Yeah, it's 10th, 11th of January that rugby
Yeah,
returns now.
so Duhan getting it now, fine. Still not ideal. You don't want any player to go down with injuries,
No,
but
no, but
I'd
if you
rather
were to pick a time to get injured, you pick it when there's a break and there's no rugby on.
yeah. Don't do it against don't do it against Italy and then oh yeah, he can't play against Ireland. Oh no.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. It's so if there was a time to do it, so okay, he did fail his HIA, he has to be out for 7 days, but next game isn't for 13 days, so you're fine. You
And
know?
we're away to Vans, and we all know whatever it does on the Challenge Cup away days, he doesn't go full noise anyway. So I don't
Well,
think Duhan will.
I'm not sure because now that we've lost that game, we now have to go undefeated to be in with a realistic chance. Depending on how far, look, if Everett's ambition in the Challenge Cup is to make it to the quarterfinals or something like that, yeah, fine. He can just go and maybe scrape together 2 wins, maybe three, and go out early in the knockout stages. But if he wants to go all the way and actually challenge for it, because we lost to Gloucester, we do need to win the rest of our pool games. That's just it.
See, we spoke about this because like Vans beat the absolute brakes off Gloucester in the second
Uh-huh.
round. But I don't think Gloucester went full noise. And again, this is a big issue now. That's deeper than Scottish rugby. There's a lot of teams that aren't going full noise on away days, and then kind of getting absolutely scudded, and then you're getting like, well, how serious are you taking this tournament?
Mm. It's
So
the
you get
same in the
stuff like that.
Champions Cup as well.
No, that's what I'm saying. But Vans smashed Gloucester like 46-13 or something. So I'm like, great. Do we now have to go full noise? To be fair, out of the two games, and again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
Hmm.
Out of the two games that Edinburgh have with the Challenge Cup,
Yeah.
you're more likely to go full noise against Vans than you are the Black Lions.
Well, this is just it's bad management. Like the games that we should have went full noise against was Gloucester. I mean, the
Yeah,
squad we played against Gloucester, no disrespect to Black Lions and Vans. So the team we played against Gloucester, that's who we should have played against Black Lions. Instead of now having to go out full noise against one of these teams, you should be like, okay, Gloucester, this is our big ticket. Our squad's strong enough with rotation to beat these other teams, but this is the team that we to go full noise on. But pressure was on
Glo-
him to
yeah,
get that Benetton
Gloucester.
win.
Yeah, Gloucester and Bayonne should have been full noise. We actually did go full noise against Bayonne because we were allowed to do that again, funnily enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we should have went, all right, let's bring in the young lads, Liam McConnell, Connor McAlpine, Rob Carmichael, Ollie Blythe Lafferty could have made his debut. Ewan McVie could have came off the bench to make his debut. Could have had Freddie Douglas still fit and raring to go. Do you know what I mean? Like you didn't have to chuck Freddie Douglas down at Gloucester. I know injuries can happen at any game or any time in training or that, but come on, like yeah, you could have easily had, you could have easily done Hamish Watson with Freddie Douglas
Mm-hmm.
in one of those games, and you would have had like almost like teacher and apprentice sort of thing because that would be a lot of fun. But yeah, just, I don't know. Anyway,
No.
we've got a week off. We've got a week off next week. I don't believe we're doing a. Are we doing a pod next week? Because there's nothing to talk about.
Well, look, if something big happens in the Scottish rugby world, look, we'll come on, we'll talk about it. But barring that, if there's no games on, it just depends how we're feeling, really. I'd say probably not, if I was to
Hmm.
guess, but you never know in the world of sport.
Sure.
Um,
That's very true.
I don't know how
Anything
it's
can
going to
happen.
happen after that because I'll come on for the pod for my birthday, but then I've got my op after that, so you might have to get a filler for me for 2 weeks or so,
Oh God.
depending if I'll see how I'm feeling at the time, but
Okay. We'll see. But
I'll come on
yeah,
here with 2 tampons hanging at my nose. I
I mean,
think today is
you could always just
the
not
last
have your
day of.
camera on. You could always just not have your camera on.
Well, if I'm getting my sinuses operated on, you'd hear it in my voice. Probably hurt to speak.
Fair
Anyway,
enough.
that's a story for another day. We'll deal with that
Jesus.
at the time.
Um, but yeah, as for now, we're having a week off next week. But Asian took up. It happened. That's the best I can say. Glasgow retained. Edinburgh got a crucial win. Massive
Mhm.
4 points for the league, and yeah, that was it.
Glasgow's still not coming away with nothing. They still came away with lose a bonus point.
They do. It's
But
just something that they do.
I mean, Edinburgh within a playoff position still. Glasgow still second. I mean, Leinster out clear. You hope that Glasgow can claw back some ground on Leinster during their South Africa trip.
Mm.
But other than that, I think we should leave it there for this week. We said it was going to be a short one. We're still almost at the hour mark, so we've had a bit of a bitch and a moan. So we will
It
be
happens.
back in 2 weeks.
2
Enjoy
weeks.
your week
Well,
off. Look, I hope everyone listening had a great Christmas, and I wish you all the best for the new year.
yeah.
But yeah, we'll see you in. Oh, actually, next pod would be on my birthday, won't it? After we come back from the Racing game.
After the Racing game, after the Vans game, yeah, after the first return of Challenge Cup and Champions Cup. Happy days. So yeah,
Happy days.
I mean we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Music. I can't remember all the streaming platforms. Dan deals with that side of things. I named the big three. I think we're on Amazon Music as well, I believe.
Yeah, so we're on most places. We're on Spotify, we're on Amazon, we're on Apple Music, we're on Podcast Addict, we're on a couple of little ones as well. We are on YouTube. Funny enough, our second largest listener base listens to us on Amazon Echoes. So
That's
it's
weird.
it goes Spotify,
Hmm.
Amazon Echo, and then YouTube. So our second largest user base is Alexa, play Kilted
I like
Kickoff, which is
play Kelly
weird.
Kickoff. That's
Yeah.
yeah, that's very strange. But hey, we love you regardless. We're all on. We are on TikTok. The podcast has its own TikTok page. We try and do as much as we can on that. There's sometimes that I feel like we can do lots with it and make lots of, and pump out lots of clips. There's other times where when we just rant. If it's a 10-minute
Yeah.
rant, it's very hard to calm that down. But hey, we'll figure it out. We've done one video today. It was 10 seconds long. It's gotten over 5,000 views. TikTok is a
So
weird and wonderful place. If you like
we need a social
Dan,
media manager for Kilted Kickoff.
Killer Kickoff
Yep.
is on TikTok. It's on Instagram. Give it a follow. Get involved. If you like what Dan does lots of more statistical things. I would like to probably say
Some of it,
out,
yeah. I do a lot more
out of
statistical
the two
things.
of us anyway.
I do a lot of what ifs roads to power, or what if there's a URC second division, what would happen? I think I'm
Mm,
working. Well, I've been working on for a while. What if there's a rugby Euros that happens? Every 4 years. I work on lots of little stuff like that, and
there you
sort
go.
of yeah, that sort of stuff. I still talk about rugby news and you know the going on, but I do like to dabble in a what if scenario a lot of the time.
There you go. So if you like all that, Dan's your guy. He is at Rugby Realm on TikTok. There's other Rugby Realms, but he's the main one. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, there's some guy from like Indonesia that just popped up taking my name, and there's a Welsh guy that no longer does a TikTok anymore. So
There you go. So yeah, Dan is the main Rugby Realm. And if you like what I do match day vlogs, I do reactions, I do squad reactions, I do predicted squads, combined 15s, rugby news, rugby reviews, match reviews. I'm your guy. I'm Boss for Rugby HQ. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram, but it's Boss for Rugby. Don't just follow Boss for Rugby. It does exist, but I can't get into it. So yeah.
right, we'll leave it there. We'll try to keep it short of an hour. Have a happy new year, everybody.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Bye bye.